You wake up after detox, and the room feels both familiar and alien. You did what you had to do to survive, and now someone says you're clean. But underneath that relief, there's a voice whispering something far darker. You're broken. You'll do it again. That whisper is shame, and for many people, it becomes the most dangerous trigger of all. Shame is not just an emotion. It's designed to constrict. It narrows attention, isolates us, and convinces us that we are defined by our worst moments. After a period of substance use, when the brain has been operating in survival mode, that constriction can become total. Neurobiology helps explain why. Prolonged substance use floods neural circuits with strong rewards and pushes stress systems into overdrive. The brain reorganizes priorities around avoiding pain and obtaining relief. Executive functions, the parts of the brain that plan, evaluate consequences, and regulate emotion, get weakened. Memory systems store the intense experiences of craving, relief, guilt, and secrecy. Layers of learned association form, linking certain places, people, or feelings to the urge to use. Crucially, under that pressure, the brain can separate behavior from identity. When survival mode circuits dominate, actions are about immediate relief, not about who you are at your core. Yet when the fog lifts in detox, the gap between what you did and who you believe you are becomes glaring. Shame seizes that gap and fills it with judgment. You are your past, it says. That message isn't a neutral truth. It is a cognitive pattern reinforced by fear and self-protection. And because shame shuts down the very systems we need to think clearly and make different choices, it can become the spark that leads directly into relapse. Understanding this connection, how neurobiology, behavior, and shame interact, is the first step toward a different outcome. If shame is a survival-era distortion, it can be treated like one, examined, named, and met with specific practices that rewire response patterns. That's where evidence-based self-compassion tools come in. These are not platitudes. They are structured, research-informed practices that change how the brain responds to failure and painful memories. One foundational tool is compassionate self-talk. Rather than responding to a relapse thought with self-attack, patients are taught to speak to themselves as they would a trusted friend, steady, factual, and kind. Neuroscience shows that this kind of reframing reduces amygdala reactivity, the brain's alarm center, and allows prefrontal regions to re-engage. A short pause, a grounding breath, and a gentle phrase like, "I'm hurting, not hopeless," can interrupt the shame spiral and restore cognitive control. Another tool is behaviorally anchored self-forgiveness, naming specific actions, acknowledging their harm, taking concrete reparative steps, and then explicitly releasing the identity-based condemnation. This sequence reconnects moral reasoning with action, rather than letting moral pain become a global verdict on self-worth. Therapists use guided exercises to help patients rehearse this sequence until it becomes a default response to setbacks. Mindfulness-based practices form a third pillar. Mindfulness trains attention and reduces the automatic fusion with painful thoughts. By observing shame without immediate reaction, patients learn that thoughts are mental events, not fixed truths. Repeated practice strengthens networks involved in emotion regulation, making relapse impulses less overwhelming. In the clinical setting described here, therapists blend these tools into a stepwise rebuilding process. They start by normalizing the neurobiological origins of shame, removing moral isolation. Then they teach and practice self-compassion skills in small, supervised steps. Progress is tracked, Setbacks are reframed as learning opportunities, and new habits are reinforced through repetition and social support. Over time, patients rebuild self-esteem, not as a fragile claim, but as a set of practiced responses grounded in evidence and experience. When shame is met with understanding and skillful compassion, it loses its power to paralyze. The brain that once defaulted to survival reactions begins to rewire toward regulation and reconnection. Recovery becomes less about proving worth and more about practicing new ways of relating to yourself. That is how relapse stops being an inevitable echo of the past and starts becoming a moment of learning on the path to steady rebuilding.